He's done well. He's a smart player. Um, he picks things up quickly. He can think and execute, which is a hard thing for some young players. It's not hard for him. And that was one of the takeaways. I said we're looking at a lot of different things. One of the things we looked at was playing him with another big and, seeing if that gave us a little bit more physical muscle out there. And he can do that from a skill standpoint offensively and athletically defensively, and so that's an option for us. So he had a good preseason. He continues to track well. We think he's a really good player.
Also wanted to ask you about Derek. After that first Denver game, Darius talked about how the guys liked playing with him, and he's been here for a short time, but he's been here for a long time. What have you noticed about the interactions that he's been able to have with the group so far?
Really professional, really, really high character, good guy. I think, I've noticed this now. We've had Chris Paul, we've had Gallinari, Schroeder to a degree, Horford, George, now Derek. I think because our younger players are really good guys, really hardworking, really committed and competitive and have, visible potential, those guys kind of get energized by them, when they're around them. And I think that our group is having the same effect on him. I think he enjoys coming in every day. I'll catch him like laughing at a guy. There's just a youthful energy to the gym because of where we are with the team, and I think that that's a positive thing for a guy like him. And he obviously brings a lot of poise and stability to us as well.
Mark, I couldn't help but just wonder, what the dynamics would look like with Kenrich out there on the floor during those first 4 preseason games. Just curious your thoughts on sort of how he slots in, and I know he's versatile, but what he can provide.
Yeah, he's going to slot right in. I mean, he's a big part of what we're doing. He brings great toughness. He brings physical strength. He brings some size. And then on the offensive end, he's just a really low-cost player. You don't have to really run anything through him, and he's highly effective. He chooses his spots. He can make open shots. He's a really simple passer. So he's just a guy that enhances the whole. And getting him out there in that second unit, is a stabilizing thing and gives us some confidence. And we're looking forward to having him out there. He's tracking, by the way. He's practicing.
Yeah, I know you might not be committing to a starting lineup, but it does seem like out off the bench would be maybe an ideal role for him.
I'm committed to bringing him off the bench. I just think it's I think bringing a guy like him that's as consistent and ready as he is, I think is a valuable thing. I think knowing that some of the guys off the bench are going to be a little younger and having him, kind of gluing that group together is important. And I also, just having coached him towards the end last year where we played him longer minutes in some games, I do think he's a more effective player where less is more minutes-wise. I don't think he's like a 35-minute player. I don't think that's how you get the best version of him. That's not to say we'd never do that, but I don't think night after night that's the best role for him.
Philosophically, as you look at that fluid center spot, is that something that you're thinking about night-to-night basis? We've got Gobert one night, we've got that you might go a different direction, or would you rather sort of select somebody to be your night in, night out starter there?
Too early to tell. I would say I'm leaning towards the first one right now, just because they've all given us a reason to consider them for minutes. So rather than corner ourselves into a certain way of playing and a certain person for a certain role, the minute you do that, you're committed to that. And we could probably get to that point, I would imagine. But we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing before we go all in on it. And so you can expect to see, all of those guys at one point or another. I don't know about starting, but certainly in the game and on the court.
Like you talked about Josh and Shea yesterday and how they've been able to work with each other. And I think we asked you before that in your pre-training camp press conference, how do you imagine that fit? I know it's just 4 preseason games, but what did you think of that when they're out there together?
Well, I think it's fine. I think it's good. And I think the reason is it's really kind of personality more than style. I think style is overrated, and team orientation and personality is underrated in those situations. I think there are players that their games fit like a glove, but relationally they can't figure out how to function together. And then there's guys where, and the best example is the year that we had the 3-point guards. You know, those guys all played together, and it was probably the best lineup in basketball that year. And not because stylistically you would have ever thought that that was a natural fit, but relationally, those guys all committed to making that work. And I look at Shea obviously in that way, and I look at Josh in that way. And I think because of the way they are as people and the way they see the team and how committed they are to the team, they're going to figure the style part out of it. And they both really know how to play, and that helps too.
Yeah, they both seem to fit into the positionalist basketball you keep talking about. Is that style, that, like, I feel like positionalist basketball is a buzzword we hear all the time.
I really don't say it that much.
But, like, is that what you're most comfortable coaching? Is that an organizational philosophy, or is it just the way the game's going that you almost have to play it?
I think that the game is trending that way for sure. I'm not sure that I would say organizationally, I don't want to speak for Sam, but my impression of that is that we're more opportunistic, where we just don't want to. There's too many constraints. You know, we're in a really small market. There's a salary cap. There's only so many available players at a time. There's only so many roster spots. There's all these constraints that exist. And if you start getting picky about the types of styles of player or size of players or athleticism or shooting, you know, if you get really, really stingy, you can limit your pool greatly. And I think that one thing that's made us, you know, able to build the team we have and moving forward is like we're going to be opportunistic and open-minded to all different kinds of players. And usually when you do that, you end up with some unique players, and you end up with players that are, you know, kind of Swiss Army knives. And how do you figure that out? And so then it's our job stylistically to figure out how to put the puzzle pieces together. But I mean, we have guys playing to their strengths too. You know, I don't want anybody, you know, thinking that we're just like rolling everybody out there and everybody does the same thing. I mean, guys are going to be in roles, and that establishes itself. But we just want to establish threats up and down the roster. And the way you do that is you feature, you know, multiple people, and it's not just like Shea's really good at hitting the paint. You just force feed him the ball. Because then you become easy to guard and easy to stop.
Yesterday you talked about Shea's personality, like as the face of the team, and personality and play style. Is he sort of an easy guy to build around as far as his players?
Yeah, I mean, he's extremely easy. I mean, I try to. He's starting to learn. You know, it's funny, like these veteran players that you're around, they have their own philosophy on the game because they play so many games and they're coached by so many people. You know, they develop their own philosophy just like a coach would. He's starting, I think, to understand that, and I think he's starting to form that. So I try to engage him on that a little bit and see what he's thinking. But he's so he's just so workable. You know, he's not cynical. He's not skeptical of anything. He's very open-minded. I think he naturally has a trust in his teammates, in coaching, in the organization. He's a trusting person. And so we obviously have to be careful with that. You know, we have to make sure that we continually earn that. But he's incredibly easy to work with.
Do you get a sense your players are starting to get anxious for Wednesday night?
Yeah, a little bit. I think like these last two practices, you know, you could tell they're like, okay, let's turn the lights on. You know, they were good, but I mean, it didn't have the same punchy energy that we had at the Blue Building. You know, and I think that's what happens when you get closer to the game. You know, like they're ready to rock. So we're excited. It's gonna be fun.
Was everyone available?
Practice? Yeah, everyone went. Trey was good. Roby was good. K. Rich, Favors, Veet was through. Yeah, we're rolling.
And we're going to go last question on the Zoom to Christos Saltis. Go ahead, Christos, with your question.
Hello, Coach. How are you?
Hey, Christos. I'm well. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Coach, from 1 to 10, how ready is this team for the start of the season? And is there anything that impressed you or surprising you intensity-wise during the practices?
1 to 10, how ready are we? I'm going to go with 10. And then the practices are competitive. I would say I'm not surprised by that because of the competitive nature of our players. But we've had really competitive practices, and we've kind of unleashed them on that. You know, we've got a younger team. And we think it's important to really sharpen that blade and allow them to build chemistry and cohesion through the competition of practice. And I thought that's happened throughout camp. It happened today. You know, we were running some end of game stuff, and they were kind of picking on their matchups. You know, so they were choosing each other to, you know, they were choosing who to attack today. You know, which there's a lot of masculinity gets going when you do that. So we've had some fun practices.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.